Yeah. Put that mic any closer to your stomach.
I'm afraid to.
Aliens?
Thank you.
I don't know what about your stomach gurgling made me think of aliens. I'm Melissa.
I'm Taylor.
And this is our Cinema Romance.
Before we get started, thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone who has been watching the videos, leaving comments, liking the videos. It means so much to us, and we really do appreciate it. If you like what we're doing, subscribe to the channel, like the videos.
Thanks so much.
This week, I really wanted to talk about something. This has been on my mind. I want to talk about time and our perceptions of time. And I hope this is going to make more sense as we go. But here's what I'm talking about. If you saw our very first episode, we mentioned the fact that without necessarily aging ourselves, a lot of our cultural touchstones come from like the 1980s and for Melissa, a little bit early 90s.
If you asked me like, hey, what movies in the 90s were your favorites? You know, there wouldn't be like, I could mention some that I remember specifically being from the 90s, but not many. The 80s, however, I could list just a plethora of movies.
There's a lot that we understand about human memory and even just human perception that we didn't know, I mean, even when you and I were born. One of the shortcuts that the brain takes when forming memories is that it's like it uses, like imagine that you're doing something significant and you take a Polaroid of it, and you set the Polaroid down, and then something else cool happens. You take another Polaroid, and you take another Polaroid every time something like really cool happens. But when nothing like particularly cool or interesting or new is happening, there's no real need to document it. That's kind of how the brain works with memory.
Okay.
If there's something new that needs to be recorded, it does.
Okay.
If not, it doesn't.
Okay.
This is one reason it has been posited why, as you get older, it seems like you often hear people say, every year seems to go by faster and faster and faster.
Yeah. And I've caught myself starting to say that, and it's actually, I've probably said that for the last 10 years. And it's something that always makes me feel a little older.
Well, what does that mean for us? As two people talking about movies, what, like, I don't want to just talk about movies from the 1980s.
Yeah.
Or the early 90s. And they're absolutely movies that we have loved since.
Well, what's funny is a lot of the movies that I love the most go way back. But part of that is I was so obsessed with movies in my teens and early 20s that I watched, you know, some of these movies on DVD or even video over and over again. You know, like I had to watch every single David Lynch film, every single Stanley Kubrick film, I liked silent films. So like a lot of those are in the past, but I want to say since media has evolved as well, I don't go to the video store and rent a favorite movie anymore because I have so many choices and it's like there's always new things. And
well, that's like, is it because you have so many choices? Or is that drive not the same as it was?
Honestly, if I see a movie that I get excited enough about, I feel like I will still kind of, I'll remember things in certain ways. But having said that, there are so few movies, even from the past 30 years.
Okay,
I don't
that's
know,
what, like,
that stand out to me. Like, there are some, don't get me wrong, but like most of the movies that when I go to the well, when I go to talking about the movie, oh, this movie, it's back then. But some of those movies are from before I was born, but I watched them for the first time during that kind of impressionable time. I saw a lot of certain movies, and those movies, like, I really moved me in a certain way, or when I don't know that happens that much anymore.
And that's part of what I'm getting at. It's like, I hate to think that my taste are set.
Yeah.
Or have, like, calcified in some way.
You know, though, I get excited when I see something that feels new. Those are the kinds of things that I get excited about. Or, like, that kind of pop into my head. And if you say, like, what?
Yeah.
I need a second. Honestly, Artifice Girl comes up. That was something new. That was an AI movie that actually worked for me.
Yes, and we will talk about Artifice Girl soon, because it was probably one of the best movies that I saw last year. I don't know if it came out in 2023 or 22.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I saw it in 2023 and loved it. Another movie that I saw in 2023 that came out 5 years ago, maybe. A Dark Song.
Oh, that's a good one.
I absolutely, and we'll talk about that one too. Don't rush out to watch A Dark Song without maybe knowing a little bit about it.
Yeah, no. It's a lot.
But here's the thing. Like, A Dark Song came out 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. To you and I right now, that's not very long.
Yeah.
Whereas 5 years...
To our daughters, if they say, 5 years is a huge amount of time.
I mean, that's how long, like, most people are in high school.
Yeah.
That's how long it takes most people to get a bachelor's degree, is within that time.
Snowpiercer. That's a movie that, when I saw, really stuck with me. And thematically, there's nothing new, in terms of, classism and things like that. But the way he showed it was really interesting.
If we want to think about movies, like, just in this millennium.
Yeah.
A good shorthand is whether or not you and I were together.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, if we saw... What are some of the movies that we saw together that we remember? Like, for me, the two just immediately are Fury Road and Get Out.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, which you absolutely love.
I didn't even know what to do after watching Pan's Labyrinth. I was so emotional, and, like, it had such a visceral... Like, I had such a visceral reaction to so much of that film. I mean... Guillermo del Toro certainly has a visual style that agrees with me. I like kind of those dark, rich colors and things that he would do. Even in both Hellboy films, I appreciated.
I don't think I've seen a Guillermo del Toro movie that I did not like.
Yeah, in some way.
And there aren't a lot of directors I can say that about.
No, he is a very interesting filmmaker, and I like him.
Of course. But... I mean, Fury Road came out in, said it was 2016. I think it was 2015.
I have to check.
I think Fury Road is, like, it's going on 9 years old.
Wow.
That's 2 high school classes. Enter as a freshman and graduate.
I think that's the last film in the theater that I saw multiple times.
It definitely is for me. And this was, when I was younger, I would see movies as many times as I could afford to if I thought it was good enough.
If I loved a movie, I would try to see a movie several times in the theater.
I saw Fury Road in the theater 5 times. 3 with you, I think.
Yeah, no, I saw Fury Road 3 or 4 times at least.
Just absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Saw Get Out I saw it twice because
I think I just saw Get Out once, but that is quite a film.
Because I saw it and then I took you back to see it.
Yeah.
Another movie that I took you back to see, Lost in Translation. Because I saw it with my good friend and then really, really wanted you to see it.
I love that movie.
Exactly. But Lost in Translation...
It's different, though, isn't it? Isn't it... Would you say that's a movie that wakes you up from something? It's a different type of film?
Her approach to it, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't always... Lost in Translation, directed by Sofia Coppola. I don't always love that kind of... I don't know, kind of sort of laid back, kind of breezy sort of style. With people, looking out a car window.
Yeah.
At the buildings passing by. Doesn't always work for me. It does in Lost in Translation.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
it is. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I remember The Ring. Was that 2000s? Was that...
Yes, Ring was 2000s.
Okay.
We saw The Ring together.
And The Ring also just, a J-horror movie. That was our introduction, right? In the States.
Well, Had I seen any... I don't think I'd seen I don't think I'd seen Ringu. I don't think I'd seen The Grudge or Ju-on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess maybe it was that J-horror style.
The Ring certainly woke me up a little bit. I remember that you're being very. I know I saw that multiple times.
Do you remember the movie we saw around the same time?
Maybe not.
But Session 9.
Ooh, Session 9 is good.
But Session 9 is one of the first feature
digital
films
movies, right?
shot on digital. And it doesn't stand out for that reason. But I remember, The Ring scared us in the theater. But I slept pretty well that night.
Yeah.
Session 9 didn't scare me so much, but...
You thought about it more
later.
Yeah,
it wormed its way into my head more than a lot of horror movies.
Again, it's horror films. If we're going to talk about movies that we remember, so many of them are horror films. We remember Midsummer, for sure. We remember The Witch, for sure.
Yes, we remember Hereditary, for sure.
We remember Hereditary, for sure.
But
even Insidious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I guess the thing that I want to really kind of tease out is what responsibility do we have talking about movies on YouTube to understand that stuff that we might dismiss because it's not necessarily new to us. These are going to be the cultural touchstones for our children. I
see what you're saying because it seems like there hasn't been hey, look how interesting millennials are doing things. Look how interesting Gen Z cinema is. Look how interesting. There hasn't been that.
Okay, but is that because it's not out there, or is that because we don't see it? This is my question, and this is why I wanted to bring up all of this. Because our touch points...
This is our reckoning.
I hadn't thought of it in quite those terms. But, yeah, because our cultural touch points come so much earlier, are we able to recognize what the millennials are doing, what Gen Z is doing?
Okay, I'm not sure about that. But I do pay attention to interesting filmmakers. I do pay attention to new things coming out. Again, The Lobster, and I can't say his name because it's Greek, but
No, of course.
But
Lánthimos?
Yes, Killing of a Sacred Deer, and The Favorite, and now Poor Things. That is a filmmaker.
But you haven't seen Poor Things.
I have not seen Poor Things yet, but I saw all of the other films, and he is interesting. That is an interesting filmmaker, and I will watch his films. And it's new. I don't know how new, well, here's the thing. I think one of the reasons I like it is because there's a lot of surrealism, and surrealism brings me back to Buñuel, who I love. Like, so it's
all right. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to invalidate any filmmaker just because they are working in a genre or style, or following some tradition that is already familiar to us. So just because he's a surrealist filmmaker, and there have in the past been other surrealist filmmakers, doesn't mean that what he's doing isn't good. Doesn't mean that what he's doing isn't interesting.
No, of course not.
And just the fact that you were able to name those 3 films that you have watched, in fact, that is somebody who you are sort of following now.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have that. I don't know that I have a new filmmaker or a young filmmaker who
Jordan Peele.
Yes. That's maybe a good example. I think Get Out is
masterpiece.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's really perfect. There is not a false note in it. It's one of those movies taken on its own terms. I don't think it can be done any better. He nailed it. Us, I found a little bit more broad in its ideas, and maybe not quite, or definitely not as tight.
It's not as tight or perfect, but it's still a very interesting film that has lots of things. It has rewatchability, and it has things that you can talk about.
And you and I split on Nope.
Yes.
Which,
yeah, yeah.
So you had a great example with the Greek guy.
Yes.
Also and I know that's reductive, and I'm
Yórgos,
sorry.
I don't want to say it incorrectly.
I know. I already. Yeah. And you had another great example of Jordan Peele.
Yes.
But how many new or up and coming filmmakers, we hear their name, and immediately, don't necessarily, we don't even have to want to see it, but just we hear the name and it's I have to check that out. Yeah. I would say Ari Aster is one.
Ari Aster,
even though I haven't seen Beau is Afraid yet.
Yes.
I hear his name and it's oh.
Yeah.
He's got another movie coming out.
What's interesting to me, and this is actually this is real. I talk to real young people, I should say. And when I say young people, these are students in college. I taught several art 101 classes at the university out here for about 5 semesters, and I would talk to them, and I'd have these small kind of discussion oriented classes and be like, well, what do you guys watch? I want to know. You young folk, I would tease them and say, young folk, what are you guys watching? What's interesting to you? What am I missing? And a lot of them would list their favorite thing being a YouTuber. I watch this guy's content on YouTube. Some of them were watching TV series. Someone had just discovered Breaking Bad, and someone else was really excited about having seen there were students that were interested in some foreign language films, that I thought was interesting. They mentioned a director that's from Korea, I like this guy. So, but there wasn't a consensus. I thought that was very interesting. They don't have a Spielberg because there's too much, right? It's just, there's so much, and there's so many different ways to get that entertainment. Again, there was someone in the class that said, I don't really watch TV. I watch streams on Twitch, so it's okay, how can I, how do I talk about movies to that person? It's just...
unless you saw the same Twitch stream.
Yeah.
How do you talk to them about anything?
Yeah.
In terms of popular culture.
So I feel the reason we go back to the well is because the new one, there isn't a new... I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a good answer.
I mean, I do think part of it is the way memory works. Part of it is the way that we perceive time. Like, some of it is just physiological and biological and neurological. But I do think that what you're saying is also true. That it's not that the well isn't deep. It's more like the well is like 2,000 square miles. And I don't...
The well is this way.
Yeah, like, I don't... And I don't know what part of the well everybody else is dipping in.
I guess I think, if anything, are we doing a disservice? What do we need to do to be better? I think trying to be more aware when we're watching something, you know, like, hey, maybe giving it our full attention. I don't know how many of you out there, like, will turn a movie on Netflix and at the same time also be playing a game on your phone and also be looking at a book, and it's like, oh, this looks like maybe an interesting movie, but you're not really paying attention. It becomes very, like, who cares? It's background noise.
People have said that some of the Netflix originals basically seem like they were made in order to be consumed while somebody is doing something else on their phone.
Because sometimes when I have, like, stopped everything and I'm like, I'm gonna watch this movie, it's not enough for me. Like, it's like, I need to get on my phone. Like, I don't know what to say.
There's not enough. There's not enough new, and it, like, have we just seen it all? Like, when people get older and they're like, oh, that's not as, you know, I saw this back when I was a teenager. You know, the same story, same idea, and it's like, well, maybe you did.
Yeah.
But the people who were seeing that idea or that story for the first time, to them it's brand new.
Well, honestly, though, I think so many are convoluted and busy and, like, it's noise. A lot of, like...
No, that's...
Like, a lot of it is noise. Like, why is this scene even in the film? It's like kitchen sink.
I do think that these movies are being made to be noise. Content, yes. This is something that Melissa and I have only recently begun to think about, watching other people on YouTube. But the idea that, in a lot of ways, studios aren't making art anymore. They aren't even trying to make a good movie anymore. They are trying to make content.
Content for streaming later.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of what makes... When a studio now deems a movie good enough to be put in a theater as opposed to straight to streaming, maybe that's a key. Maybe.
But where is that going? Will the movies, like, at what point will they stop making movies that are good enough for a movie theater? At one point, will it only be content?
Well, the thing is, though, there won't only be studios making films. Like, there will be independent people that want to make art that will be able to still get out there. At least I'd like to think. There's always those surprises. There's something that cuts through all the levels of crap before it can, you know, something can happen for it. There's still, like, I'm still shocked. You know, they're talking about award season. We haven't seen a lot of these films yet, and people are excited about a lot of them. So, like, maybe we still need to look for it. Maybe we just need to look in other places. As at the time that we are recording this, neither you nor I have seen either half of Barbenheimer. That's true.
I mean,
we missed a complete cultural touchstone of the summer. Yeah,
that was, and I mean, Matt Pat talked about that in that one video. How it was such a huge, like, people like, have you seen these movies yet?
And that was kind of exciting, honestly. I loved it. I loved that Madeline and her friends were lining up to go see the Barbie movie. They dressed up and they saw both movies. They wanted to make sure that they could see both of them. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, even...
However, we were not in the theater with them.
Yeah.
We were not in line with them. So what does that say? I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
tell us what movies are we missing? What should we see that came out in the last 5 years?
And especially, like, is there a filmmaker that, you know, as soon as you see their name, you know, you read, you know, an article, so-and-so has this, you know, their next project is blank, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Because I can say that about Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't love Nope, whatever he does next, I want to see it. Whatever Ari Aster does next, I want to see it. But, I mean, tell us, like, if you have, you know, an example like that, we would love to know what it is.
Tell us what we should see.
In the meantime, please do like and subscribe. I'm Taylor.
I'm Melissa.
And this is our Cinema Romance.
Bye.